August 1st, 1943. Over the North Sea, Captain Robert Morgan's B-17 takes flak over Germany. The hit ruptures all 4 fuel tanks. Morgan watches the gauges drop to 0. He's 200 miles from England, with no fuel. The engines will quit in minutes. His crew is looking at him, waiting for the order to bail out. But Morgan knows something they don't. If they bail out here, they'll drown in the freezing North Sea. The water is 50 degrees. Survival time is 30 minutes. None of them will make it. The rescue planes won't find 10 men scattered across 50 square miles of ocean in time. So Morgan makes a decision that defies every rule of aviation. He's not bailing out. He's going to glide. Glide a 35-ton bomber with no engines. 90 miles to England. His co-pilot thinks he's insane. "Sir, we can't glide 90 miles. It's physically impossible." Morgan looks at him. "Then I guess we're about to do the impossible." At 18,000 feet, the first engine quits. Number 3, the propeller windmills for a moment, then freezes. The plane shudders. Morgan trims the controls, keeps the nose up. At 16,000 feet, engine number 4 dies. Then number 1, then number 2. All 4 engines dead. The only sound now is the wind. Morgan puts the B-17 into a shallow glide. The aircraft becomes a glider. A very heavy, very ungainly glider, but still a glider. The key to gliding is the glide ratio. How far you can travel horizontally for every foot of altitude lost. A modern glider has a ratio of 40:1. A B-17 about 8:1. Morgan has 16,000 feet of altitude. That gives him a theoretical glide range of 24 miles. He needs 90. The math doesn't work, unless he's perfect. He adjusts every control, reduces every bit of drag, closes the bomb bay doors, raises the landing gear, smooths out every surface, flies with fingertip control, the slightest input, the gentlest touch. His crew is silent. They're doing the math too. They know they're not going to make it. At 10,000 feet, they've covered 30 miles. At 5,000 feet, 60 miles. The coast of England is visible now, a thin line on the horizon. But they're still 30 miles out. Morgan has 5,000 feet left. It's at an 8:1 glide ratio that gives him 8 miles. He's going to be 22 miles short. Everyone knows it, but nobody says anything. Then Morgan does something that shouldn't be possible. He finds lift. Tiny pockets of rising air over the ocean. Thermal updrafts, air currents. Things a bomber pilot should never be able to feel. But Morgan feels them. He's not flying the plane anymore. He's become the plane. Every vibration, every pressure change, every subtle shift in the air. He feels it all, and he uses it. He angles the nose to catch every updraft, milks every foot of altitude, stretches the glide beyond what the engineers said was possible. At 3,000 feet, they're 20 miles from the coast. At 2,000 feet, 15 miles. At 1,000 feet, 10 miles. The navigator taps Morgan's shoulder. "Sir, we're not going to make it." Morgan doesn't respond. He's too focused. At 500 feet, they're 5 miles out. Morgan can see the waves below. Individual whitecaps. The water is close enough to touch. Then the bombardier shouts, "I see lights, 3 o'clock." An airfield. Morgan turns toward them. Through the salt spray and mist, he sees faint runway lights. An emergency field, RAF Woodbridge. A crash landing strip for damaged bombers. He lines up. No instruments means no precision approach. He has to eyeball it, judge altitude and speed by feel, by instinct. He comes in fast, too fast, but he's committed. The B-17 hits the runway hard, bounces, hits again. Morgan stands on the brakes. The bomber skids, fishtails, smoke pours from the tires. Finally stops. 50 feet from the end of the runway. Morgan shuts down the non-existent engines. His hands are shaking. His co-pilot looks at him. "Sir, where are we?" Morgan laughs, a laugh born of pure relief and exhaustion. "No idea. Let's find out." They'd landed at Raff Woodbridge, an emergency field on the east coast of England, 530 miles from where their engines failed. Morgan had navigated blind across the North Sea in a storm with zero fuel and put the plane down safely. When the base commander heard the story, he didn't believe it. "You glided 500 miles with no engines. Impossible." Morgan pointed at the B-17. "Check the fuel tanks, all empty. Check the engines, all dead. We glided it, the commander did. Every tank was dry. Every engine was seized. The plane had no fuel. The Navy sent investigators. They interviewed the crew, examined the aircraft, verified the story. Then they did the math. Morgan's actual glide distance, 87 miles from engine failure to touchdown, from 18,000 feet, in a B-17 bomber. The glide ratio was 16-1, twice what the aircraft was rated for. Engineers studied the flight. They couldn't explain it. The numbers didn't work. The physics didn't work. Morgan had somehow stretched the glide beyond the theoretical maximum. When they asked him how, Morgan shrugged. "I didn't have a choice. Physics said it was impossible, but I had 10 men depending on me, so I made it possible." Robert Morgan was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross. The citation called it extraordinary. Airmanship under impossible conditions. After the war, aeronautical engineers at MIT used Morgan's flight to study maximum glide performance. The paper they published concluded, under theoretical conditions, the glide should have been impossible. Under actual conditions, superior pilot skill extended performance beyond calculated limits. Morgan flew 24 more missions, survived the war, became a commercial airline pilot. In 1987, a student pilot asked him, "What's the most important thing a pilot can learn?" Morgan thought for a long time that the airplane doesn't care what the math says. The airplane will do what you tell it to do. If you believe it's possible, if you fly it perfectly, you can make the impossible happen. I glided 90 miles because I had to, because 10 men were counting on me, and because I refused to accept that it couldn't be done. Robert Morgan died in 2004 at the age of 85. At his funeral, one of his crewmen from that flight stood up. "Captain Morgan saved our lives that day, not by bailing out, not by giving up, but by refusing to accept the impossible. He flew that plane 90 miles with no engines because he believed he could. And because of that belief, I got to live another 60 years. I got to have a family, grandchildren, a life, all because one man refused to quit." That's the story of the pilot who glided 90 miles. Because sometimes the impossible is just a challenge waiting for someone stubborn enough to try. Pausa 2 segundos. That's the story they never taught you in school. If you want more untold stories of World War II's bravest pilots, subscribe now. New mission drops every week. Which hero should we honor next? Tell me in the comments. Fly safe.